Welcome back to Bobble Pod. My name is Manni. I'm CEO of Bobble Digital.
I'm Claire Daniels, CEO of Trio Media.
I'm Anush Mnatsakanyan, CEO of Burnway.
So we're continuing our journey in terms of websites as part of this limited series. And so far we've covered what is a website, what you need to do with your website, why you need to invest in your website, and why you need to add particular key elements to your website like SEO, video, etc. But now we're going to talk about how do you do that? How do you implement all these elements to your website? How do you make your website more visible? How do you promote your website? And we're going to be discussing that in the third part. So just to kick it off, I'm going to start off with you, Claire, if that's okay. How do you go about optimizing your website for conversions?
That's a really great question and a really key point for any website. We've spoken in the other episodes as part of this series so far in terms of a great website and the calls to action and what you need to happen on your website, what you want people there to do. So, a conversion is any action on your website that you wanted someone to take that you can track. So it could be a phone call, it could be a brochure download, it could be a form completion, it could be a checkout. So there are multiple different conversions. So obviously we'd be here all week if I was going to talk about how to optimize your website for every different type of conversion. But the couple of main points I would encourage people to think about is, first of all, what is that conversion type and how are people most likely to convert on your website based on your business? Obviously, if you're an online store, your key metric, your key conversion is going to be a sale. So you might have a form somewhere on your website if people just want to get in touch. But actually, the relevance of that is far down the scale, whereas to some other business, a form fill is the holy grail. Someone's come on, they found out more about us, and they've actually sent us their details for us to contact them. Also, you should consider that actually, if, for example, you're an emergency plumbing company, people are probably going to phone you. They're not going to fill in a form because it's an emergency. So actually your call to action and conversion in that sense is going to be getting people to call you and making your phone number as prominent as possible. So the key driver here is that prominence, is to optimize your website for conversions is to make sure that people can find that action that you want them to take. So we really do want to be thinking about multiple conversion points on every single page of the website. Sometimes people can think that might be overkill or, they don't want to feel too much in people's face. But, this is your sales tool. Like, your website has to work like the most aggressive salesperson that's going to ring you up and not get off the phone till they've sold you something. That is what your website is there to do for you. So when it comes to things, particularly in the B2B space, we always really encourage people to have a contact form embedded in as many pages as possible, but certainly all the key landing pages. So as soon as someone lands on your site, being confronted with not only some information about you and potentially a video, but also finding that form really easily. Our tried and tested methods mean having a contact form on the right-hand side of the page as far up the page as possible. We find that works best for generating inquiries. So with certain clients, we've had a 4 times increase in form inquiries just by making that form, higher up and more prominent on the page. You should also consider as well, when we're sticking on the contact form conversion piece, is as fewer fields as possible. There is an argument where relevant, if you need extra fields and it's absolutely relevant to the process the customer needs to go through. So for example, an insurer or a mortgage company, and you need a field, well, how much do you want to borrow? What deposit amount is it? People want to give you that information because they feel they're getting further down the journey with you. So in those instances, having those extra fields is really relevant. However, if you are just looking to generate inquiries, we really encourage people to kind of take out fields that they don't need to know at that very first point. So for example, some companies might go, oh, it'd be nice for them to select the number of employees and for them to tell us their job title and all these other things. But what I always say, and speaking from our experience also as a small business and someone who wants to generate conversions through their website, if you get an inquiry, tell me you're not going to ring it. you are going to ring it no matter what. So as long as you know their name to ring them and you have their phone number, obviously, ideally the email address as well. So you've got another method of communication. If you have those things, you're going to contact them anyway. So I always encourage the fewer fields, the better, so that, we're increasing the chances of conversion. So those are just a few of those like tips that you can do. Obviously, I kind of mentioned about the other areas. So if it's a phone number, make sure your phone number is everywhere. Like, if it's going to be in the top bar, make your top bar sticky on scroll. So even if you're scrolling through the website, the top bar is always there. You can always see a phone number, any of these things. And this is the type of stuff that we consult people on. So, there is a lot that goes into it in knowing what's going to work, but that's very much part of our approach at Trio. Is we go through with our clients, what is that conversion? What metrics are you going to be measuring the success of your website through? And we make sure that it's well optimized for that.
We talked a lot about, the what and the why of video with websites. So Anush, how would you, optimize a website for video to support conversions, but also to support driving traffic?
Actually, right now I can tell you that just generally, if we're talking about videos can be implemented into websites in two ways. First, that I talked about during our past episodes, it as a part of the content. And the second way actually is video as a part of the design material, which is not a lot of companies executing it, but I really want to mention that it's one of the things that could really help you and to be different from your competitors. And let me show you how to do that. So you can actually do not have any problems of using a lot of animations in your website. So first of all, design part is very important in the website. We talked about that a lot. And, but there are a lot of websites now with an awesome design. So sometimes you will not even stand among your competitors if you're just having a really great design. That's why, having some illustrations, having some animations in your website could help and could engage your customers more. In every part, you can use some direction having animations to help understand how to navigate in your website. You can have some really appealing, let's say, illustrations, people engaging with your customers that could, again, help them to stay more on your website. And to do that, you can forget already about the GIFs and MP4 files, because nowadays we have more better solution. It's animated codes that not a lot of companies nowadays using, but it's really helping to not have those heavy loading processes in the website, but actually they are really high quality animation cuts. Usually these animations are not created by the engineers, but the motion graphic designers. Just later, they are exporting the files, not like a GIF or MP4 file, but mostly like an animated code. So engineers can easily put it there. And you will tell that from the SEO reason, code will load better than, of course, a lot of videos on your website. But at the same time, your website will be full of really good animations that could engage your customers a lot. To show you as an example, actually, you can go to our website. If you are listening us, you can just now also go to website and check burnnew.com, or if you're checking podcast version, we will put in the screen so you can see them. There are a lot of animations on our website, but the loading is not really bad. So, and if you zoom to any of these animations, you will see that they are vector files and they are really in a high quality. So what is the thing that I want to say that you can have, there are a lot of nowadays ways, because let's say nowadays the technology is going really fast. So if you start also seeing what is new in the market and start implementing them, you will of course tick up among your competitors, because not a lot of your competitors are using that nowadays. And that could be a really good way for you to stand out.
I think that's great and some really useful tips, because I think a lot of people are on the fence with whether to have video on their website or not. So by giving some tips of like, look, go have a look, this is how it could work for you and the tools that you can use, it helps make that more accessible for people. And I think it would be really worthwhile as well in the how session covering off like how to drive traffic to the website. Like, how do you promote your website and get people there? So, putting that to you, Manni, in terms of like different tools that you can use, what would you recommend are the best ways to get people onto your website?
I think the core channels that a lot of our clients use, and obviously it's what we offer as an agency as well, is, the first one, and we've talked about this already, search engine optimization. So that is really time spent optimizing your website, making sure you rank for specific keywords in terms of the USP, the key products and services that you offer as a business. And that when people are in that, buyer behavior stage of the purchase or consideration stage in their actual user journey, is when they're typing into Google or Bing searches, that, you want to make sure that on Google organically you rank above. The other thing people confuse that is sometimes you'll see ads at the top, so pay per click, so PPCs we call it. So Google ads at the top where you're actually paying and buying for those words. So if someone's looking for services such as, website agency leads, Trio, you might want to put a PPC ad at the top, but then stuff like that can be very, very, very competitive and a high cost per click. So that's where you're actually having to pay per click on that ad. Whereas on SEO, you're not paying, you're paying for time and investment into your website. So you organically reach the top of the page so that you're not having to pay for people to click on your actual listing within Google organically to drive traffic. And that has a longer term value and benefit. So search overall is one of the best tools you can use to drive quality traffic and drive engagement and users to site. Then you've got what I call more top of the funnel channels, which is all about driving interest. And this is why it comes back to, why you need to have that website, why it's important, to invest into key channels and invest into your website to have those call to actions and make sure you can optimize it. Because channels like social media, and social media is anything from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, LinkedIn, TikTok, Pinterest, and they're just the top ones. And your consumers, depending on how you take that data from Google Analytics, is very, very key to understanding how you need to reach out to them, because that's where you're saying, I know who my customers are. This is my ideal customer. And you might have 1, 2, or 3 segments of your customers. And then you're telling Facebook, I want to target homeowners and leads, that have recently purchased, because I'm an insurer and I want to offer them home insurance. So you're going out there saying, getting people in market or targeting your ideal customers and audiences based on what you know about them, and using tools like, paid social to reach out to them. Now, LinkedIn is a great one from a B2B perspective, but you see the rise of these platforms. And that's where video also becomes quite important, because video isn't not just, YouTube, it's content. It's creating that short 10, 15-second videos, which is what a lot of consumers and users are now consuming, and using that as part of your paid social creative, using that as pre-roll ads on video, putting that on websites as part of display and in-app. So another element you might want to consider is display advertising. So if you're a financial company and you want to target, CFOs and finance directors, they might be spending most of their time on the Financial Times. So you might want to consider getting some display ads on that specific website around key elements. Now, just recently we had the updated, budget and, come through, and, what, the new focus is going to be from the government. And on that day, you see a lot of people on the BBC website. Obviously, you can advertise on the BBC, but a lot of people going on and checking for updates on like Sky News, which you can advertise on Financial Times in terms of giving updates. You want to be part of the conversation and showcasing you're part of that. So that's just one example in one kind of specific sector. So there are a number of channels available to you. You've got stuff like affiliate marketing through to, retargeting and data methods. So if you have a good website and you are driving traffic, you can also retarget customers. There's email marketing, there's outdoor, there's digital TV, there's radio, there's a lot of elements. But I would say if you are focused on converting on your website, then focus more on digital specific channels, which would be like SEO, PPC, paid social video display. But the key element around that is, how you implement that, making sure you have maybe potential custom landing pages where if you're targeting specific keywords or offering a particular product, you give them a custom journey